Welcome, YouTubers. Thanks for joining me. I got a little issue I wanted to talk to everybody about, and that is, of course, opiate addiction. I myself have battled this thing. Now, how did I get hooked on opiates? Did I go buy a bag of weed and the guy was like, you know, try some heroin, dude? No, that is what the DARE officer would have you convinced would happen. But no, that's actually not what happened. I went to a doctor because I had a big cyst growing on my tailbone. Well, they admitted me to the hospital. That night, about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, a nurse rolls up in the room. Now, a neighbor of mine was a morphine addict, like I'm saying, a morphine addict, and they called him Morphine Mike, so that's how he was a morphine addict. And I could just see that it wasn't good. It didn't seem to be a good thing to him. Nurse comes in and offers to put morphine in my IV for the pain, because I was in a lot of pain, I really was. And I said, no, I don't want morphine. So she comes back with a 5 milligram hydrocodone tablet. Now, at this point in my life, I was like maybe 22, 23, or 21. I knew nothing about opiates. I knew that heroin and ocycontin were considered to be basically the same drug, because I'd always heard that heroin was synthetic ocycontin, or oxycontin was synthetic heroin. So therefore, I decided never ever to touch oxycontin, never ever to touch morphine. I'd never touched cocaine. I never touched any hard drugs. I smoked weed. However, then comes this pilonidal cyst, and I'm talking, this hurt. This was like really, really, really bad pain. So what happens is, I go to the hospital. It was a local hospital here called Mercy. I go in there and they admit me to the hospital, and that night the nurse comes in and offers to put morphine in my IV. I say no. She comes back about 5 minutes later with a little round tablet, individually wrapped little 5 milligram hydrocodone tablet. She scans it with the little computer and gives it to me. Tells me it's hydrocodone. Well, I'd never heard of hydrocodone. The only ones I'd ever heard of were ocycontin, heroin, and I had also heard of Vicodin through an Eminem song. So those were it. Other than that, I had no history with any sort of opiates or pills. Now, along comes this 5 milligram into my system, virgin to opiates. She comes back about 15 minutes later and asks me if I'm still in pain, and at that point, I thought the pill did nothing. It literally did nothing. I didn't feel any better. So she gives me another one. So now she's giving me 2 5 milligram hydrocodone tablets. I take them, and she comes back 15 minutes later, and Conan O'Brien was on. And I'm telling you guys, I was a rock star. I felt so good, so fucking good. That right there hooked me. I was done. I was on it. That was it for life. I was there. So what ends up happening is the following random cycle. You know, they give you pills. I got to the hospital. It was like a 6-week recovery from that cyst where my wife would have to pack gauze into the hole, and it was horrible. Now, during this whole time, I'm an automobile technician through a dealership, so therefore I have a good job. And I was able to keep that good job through all this addiction, although a lot of my nice tools disappeared because, let's face it, this addiction will take what you think that is important to you. This addiction will take that from you and show you that it's not important to you. So a lot of my expensive Snap-on tools, toolbox, because a lot of that stuff got taken, you know. I mean, when you can't afford a $600 a month bill from Snap-on, they're going to come take your tools. So what happens? They come and take my tools. The dealership says, you can't work here without that big nice toolbox. I see you have toolboxes. That's nice. They fire me. So then about 4.5 years ago, my wife gets pregnant. We have a little son. And about 4 months after that, I mean, things just got really bad for me. And I mean, my brother died 3 months prior. My brother died 3 months after my son was born, and things got rough. Well, 3 months after my brother's died, I enrolled in a methadone clinic here in my local state. Now, the upfront cost at that time was $145, and that covered your first week. After that, it was $102 a week, which then incrementally increased, and now it's up to $110 a week, about to go to $115 a week. Well, what happened is, they always told us, you're not paying for the methadone, you're paying for, the methadone's cheap, you're paying for the nurses, the counseling, the doctors, the facility, That's what you're paying for. Well, couple weeks ago, about 4 weeks ago, it was actually the anniversary of my brother's death. 3 years. And I started calling my counselor. I really need to talk to him. You go through some shit, and you really need someone to talk to. Well, when those people say that's what you're paying for, and then they don't answer the phone, and they don't call you back, and blah, 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 yeah, fuck that. So what I did is I'd already planned on quitting in March because that was 3 years, and I never planned on being there longer than 3 years, so I had a plan in place. But during the 3 years of the methadone clinic, what I did is I established a routine. Woke up the same time every day, took the medicine the same time every day, went to work, came home, did the dishes, you know, had a nightcap movie, and went to bed. Same thing every night. I developed this routine. They say you do anything 21 days in a row, it'll become a routine. Well, you can use that to your advantage, because even not taking pills for 21 days in a row can become a routine. So, what I'm going to tell you this is that a lot of people won't tell you this, but this is what I did. I'm on my 3rd day now with no opiates. What I did is I tapered down to where I was under 40 milligrams with the methadone clinic. I was only on 80 milligrams, steady. I got up to 125 when I first started, but that was way too much, and I backed back down. So I had been taking 80 milligrams, and you know the routine. I was saving half of it, so I was actually only taking 50 milligrams. And then I weaned myself down to 40 milligrams the last few months. Well, what ends up happening is you're on a pretty low dose at that point. 40 milligrams, and you're stable, and you're not noticing any different feelings. And what happened is I was able to acquire some suboxone. Now what I did is, and my clinic has suboxone too, but their program's a little different than the program I wanted to do. I wanted a real low dose, you know, under 8 milligrams, because I didn't want to get high. I knew that if I got high on the suboxone even one time, that's it. You know, don't get high. So what I did is, after 3 years of having this routine, not getting high, not chasing pills, not, you know, if you work the methadone program, it works. It really does, but you have to work it. You have to do their challenges they present to you, and you have to have a stable. You have to stabilize your life, your routine, your patterns. You can't keep staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning. You have to start going to bed earlier than getting your sleep, because that's what's going to help you during the recovery process. Now, I took suboxone. I actually I got down to 40 milligrams, then 20 milligrams the last day of methadone, then which was on a Friday, didn't dose on the Saturday, and started the suboxone on Sunday. So basically just 1 day with no medicine. Woke up that Sunday morning and I was like, I ain't feeling that bad, but I was puking my guts out, you know how it is, once that stuff starts coming out of your system. So that was as bad as I felt. I took 2 milligrams of suboxone. It made me kind of puke a little bit more, but then it kind of stabilized throughout the day. I took another 2 milligrams, and that was 4 milligrams, and I stabilized throughout the day. Next day, I still didn't have a lot of energy. I felt kind of out of place. Next day, same thing, took the 4 milligrams. By day 3 on the suboxone, I was back to normal, feeling myself. Had to take a whole 8 milligram to do that, though. But I didn't want to do that. But for a couple days, I took the 8, and then once I felt like I was more normal, I dropped down to 4. After 20 days, I quit. That was only 3 days, actually 4 days ago. I quit because I knew that you could take Suboxone for up to 3 weeks before you became dependent on it. It worked, guys. I'm 3 days in, and I don't have any really bad withdrawal symptoms, and I haven't. Other than just the, normal mental aspect of it, your laziness and not feeling like doing anything. So, this works. Build a schedule. Use Suboxone for 3 weeks for the worst of methadone withdrawals, which is that first 10 to 14 days. After that, when you stop taking the Suboxone, you haven't been on it long enough to have their withdrawals. But you're over the methadone withdrawals for the most part. It really worked. It works for me. I'll let you guys know how it's going, though. This is day 3.